Welcome to the 8 at 8. Ephraim Ramwenge is in the studios. Good morning, Ephraim.
Morning, Mr. Jesse. How are you?
Good morning, Ephraim.
Morning, Juliana.
How are you today?
I'm alive and I'm blessed, as always.
Wow. Yeah.
Today
Good
is...
to see you.
In what? In short? You say with your chest. Yeah, it's that week. It's that week. We are
Why?
short.
But why are you like this morning?
I mean,
It's a little bit enticing. So whatever that is, man. No, not right. I'm being very honest.
Okay.
Yeah,
So, ladies and gentlemen, Ephraim is in studio and is wearing shorts.
Listen,
And he has beautiful legs.
I know I'm very bad with compliments, and I lose many friends for not. I'm very, very bad.
I need to teach you to
giving
compliment
compliments.
people. But
Yeah.
you like his shorts?
But Ephraim has really nice legs.
I know, man. and very enticing, right? Like,
okay, guys,
why would you do
this
that?
is not.
Like, don't do that to me on a Tuesday morning.
Wow, you guys. And now
I
I'm
want to
shy.
make you blush.
Well, Stop it.
He said, "Stop it."
I know, stop it. Like,
You guys are ungovernable.
Oi, okay.
But to business of the day, it is the 1st of October, and I know what this date means. For employers who have to pay salaries and they have not yet been able to meet the obligation, the stress that comes with it, where you have to update your staff on a WhatsApp group. You know, good afternoon or good morning
Team.
or good evening, team. This is to let you know
Salaries
that
will be delayed.
our salaries will be delayed, but we are doing everything possible to make sure we sort you out. Sometimes you have new employees who came into this company wowed and excited because, I mean, like, yeah, I have a job. And then all of a sudden, the first month, they're getting these messages. There's nothing. Sometimes it is, you know, an employee who has a job for the very first time. They're super excited.
Yeah.
They've made plans what they will do with their first salary. And then all of a sudden, dear employee,
This is to let
this
you
is
know.
to let you know that Saro will
It's
not
going
be,
to delay.
it's going to be delayed, it's not coming. And sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes people have not received salaries 1 month, second month,
Allah.
third month. May I have been there?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
endured?
And people still come to work. I don't know even how we do it. We still come to work.
Actually, I've been on the side of the employer,
Mm.
where you salaries are delayed and you're like, okay, how are we going to pay
I'm
these
probably
people?
going to sit in the office alone today.
And funny enough, but people, that's actually an interesting thing. If you explain to people what the situation is and they are playing an active role in solving it, normally, well, people will show up.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally agree.
But how do they show up? Do you give transport facilitation in that manner?
So what you do is, what I've noticed is, if you can afford something, you normally pay the lower staff first. The people who earn.
The ones who will make more noise.
I didn't think that.
Let's just be honest.
No. You see, the fact that they
Me,
make more
I have
noise is
been a
not why you
boss
give them
before.
money. No,
I know what. No, the ones that you are likely to make a lot of wala on the streets. Streets can be, social media can be anywhere. They're the ones you clear first. Now you remain with the ones on top. The ones are close to you because they understand the inside story.
They know
You
what
see, for
caused it.
A T person, a T girl, a T boy won't understand. No, they don't want to know.
Ngo payment was delayed.
Apana, client has not paid.
Cash flow niche.
Ni bichi
Eh,
shaka mafaranga
Jewe
toka
ndashaka.
kwishuri.
I have to pay my rent. I have to pay this.
Tabana baja kuishuri, like a lot of things. So you pay the ones that are going to be more noisy. First clear those ones.
But is that fair?
It is not fair in any way, but just do that because you're fixed.
No, but you see, also, I think I consider it fair, especially if you're paying. She says noisy ones. The fact that they're noisy doesn't necessarily mean that they get paid first. But they are noisy. They are noisy. But it doesn't mean that is the reason you should pay them first. Normally, you pay the people who, just by context, you would assume that our salary is vital. In what sense? One, probably at home. They are the sole breadwinner. They don't have a spouse who earns an income. Two, when you look at how much they earn, you can say that their living expenditure, rent and the like, probably consumes 80% of their income, and not extravagant living. I mean, like just basic living, food, transport. When you do the math, you're like, this person who earns 100K or 200K, if they go without this salary, they are going to fall back into poverty. Like, it's immediately instant. Those are the ones you say, okay, these ones, I need to help them. Now, you find stuff like transport allowances, you won't have to worry about them. The ones now who are in the millions, those ones, and they have a spouse who's also earning a decent income. A few days or weeks of delayed salary, or even half of that salary, and say the balance will come later. Yes, I'm not saying that you just because. I
swear I've never been to a place where they pay half salary.
No, I mean there's some organizations where you tell the employee, we can't give you your full salary, but for you to be able to take care of your obligations,
we'll advance you.
We are going to advance you something. Then the balance will come, and it happens because at the end of the day,
it does happen.
Yeah, and you find when you do something like that, the purpose of it all is to say, okay, look, we are in this together. But why I brought this up, and I was talking about lower level staff and senior management. Senior managers are leaders. And I've never seen anyone say leadership is easy. Leadership, you are the one who's supposed to lead by example. That's one. Two, leaders are normally the people who face the real challenges. They should face the real challenges more than the foot soldiers. And when you find you consider yourself a leader, there's a reason why you're paid more money than the rest. It's not the degree you got. It's not the paper you went to school for or the years of experience.
It's the ability to take on more problems.
Exactly. Yeah. Actually, it's the ability to solve those problems. So you not getting your salary, it's your responsibility to figure out why and fix it so it doesn't happen again. Especially if you're a senior manager. And so these are things that I when we started with this and we were talking about cash flow management, but I think just in general, people, if you detach yourself as a senior manager from an organization and say, this is their business and it's me on this side, you're never going to succeed in that organization. Even if that organization started off well and it had money, at some point it's going to run out of money. If you view it like the organization's problems are their problems, not my monkey, not my circus. You've heard that saying. But if someone takes ownership of this thing, of the problems that exist, again, no salaries, cash flow shortages, you'd be surprised how easy you'd solve these problems. It won't be happening to you. You'll be in charge of the situation. And I think that's what causes people issues. When you know you are not getting your salary and you don't know when you're going to get it. You're not in control of that process.
So it's better to communicate. And how much should a company be vulnerable in saying that we have insufficient funds? We cannot really picture when, we cannot commit to a day. Is that a comfortable way to position it to the people that you lead in a company?
I think communication is very important.
But to what extent? That's the question I think Jesse's asking. How far can a company go in saying, we know we have problems, and this is why? Before people run away.
You two have worked in a place. Jesse said he worked in a place where they had to push 3 months, no salary. How did you handle that? And how were they communicating to you? Maybe you could have a better hope.
Listen, it was more than 3, especially for my first job. My very first job, it was into 6 months.
What?
The business owner.
How are you even holding?
The business owner traveled to the US.
Okay, this is that.
And did he travel with a bank?
I remember us even planning our strike, and we went to the head office, and we sat there looking for somebody to talk to. No one was talking to us, and we said we will not go to work tomorrow.
I think that guy was taking you for a ride.
They put him on a call. And he said, whoever wants may leave.
Really?
Surprisingly. This is what
None of you
happened.
left.
We only left to go back to work.
You were very desperate for that job.
No, seriously.
But
I mean, we were
think-
just youngies.
I think that, yeah, of course, you were
We
you
wanted to
young
learn.
and,
We did not want to lose the
yeah.
opportunity. You know, of course, we got the
But
exposure,
also that man
and we
was
get better
taking people
opportunities.
for granted.
No, exactly, because
That
he
man
knew
needed to
his
be
he knew
fired,
his he knew
sued.
his power in that situation. He knew he could say whatever he said, and you guys would say, because he knew at the end of the day the opportunity was worth a lot. Now the question I'd ask was, did the organization not have money, or it was just him being unserious?
It's just people, you know, they're employers who are just too selfish. They're busy investing
Yeah.
away the money from the actual business and running after several other investments, put this business as collateral and then do something else,
And they're
then to real
forgetting
estate
the people
and
who are bringing the money.
Yes.
They killed the goose that laid the golden egg. Okay, so for me, my own personal experience, you know, it's very hard to admit to people that the business is not doing well,
Very.
especially when it's not doing well because of decisions you've made as a leader. It requires some vulnerability. But again, depending on how much you respect your people, it's important to communicate. Absolutely important. How you communicate is dependent on the level of trust you have for the people you work with in terms of with information. Would they butter that information to the competitor and go look for another job, which is a possibility. But the last thing you should ever care about is saving face. And I'm telling this to any entrepreneur who's listening. You're not the first person to miss payroll, and you want to be the last. And so you're trying to save face, and so you are trying to wait until last minute to communicate to people. It's better you tell them early. Let's say if you pay people on the 25th and you can see that you're waiting for a payment to come on the 24th, but you're calling people and it's ish. Inform people way in advance. Tell them payment is going to be delayed. If you can, find a new date, and don't just give promises, empty promises. Give them a realistic date and say, hey, look, by this and this date, let's say the 2nd or by the 15th, that's when you get your salary. What normally happens is that person can then now go and tell that landlord, tell all the obligations, please just be patient, I'll pay you on such and such, if they do it early. But if you delay to tell the person, what happens is that they also delay to tell that people. And so what ends up happening is you find they're under pressure, they put you under pressure, and everybody's under pressure. But at some point, life happens.
It does.
Life happens. You can't, even the most successful businesses have issues. They have issues. I mean, I can't begin to start telling you names, but you find companies that have decent cash flows, or should have decent cash flows. Arguably, you'd think they're the ones with the best cash flows. They earn money every day. Every day, getting cash coming in every single day. Millions of francs. But you find meeting payroll is a challenge because of their own internal structures and systems. But what I'm trying to tell any entrepreneur who's listening, I'm like, look, communicate. Picking up people's calls, communicating helps. But another part I want to talk about is also high expenditure. What normally happens, I've noticed, and this is something for employees, people who are looking for jobs. If you find an organization that is paying you above average salaries in an industry, like, so, you know, let's say radio presenters in that industry earn a certain amount and they're paying above average and they're not a massive company, you need to ask yourself, are these people capable of paying?
Is it sustainable?
That's what I was about to say. If every radio presenter in Kigali is earning, let's say, 800k, and they're offering you 1.5, you need to put a question mark and say, can these people pay me that money consistently? What makes these people so special? Do they have a lot of money from an investor? Is it them as individuals? Do they have a lot of business? Do they have good clients? Because what I've normally noticed is that is normally a telltale sign that an organization is spending more than it can keep up with. And if you go before you sign up for that organization and find yourself not getting your salary for 6 months, stay where you are for less money. But if you see everybody, your peers in the sector with the same amount of experience and qualifications are earning 1 million, and these people are offering you 3, don't take that job. Unless, again, I repeat, it's a big company or an international company, or
that is paying in dollars.
Exactly. Or I repeat, they have deep pockets. But again, deep pockets, they eventually become shallow if there's no income coming in. And so that's what I'm trying to say. For me, what I've noticed is you need to be very cautious about costs of an organization and how they tie into these issues of cash flow. Now, for a business owner, one thing I've noticed about people who struggle to pay, meet their obligations, let's talk about salaries and rent, because those are the two largest expenditures. Most of the time, they have too many extra people that are doing nothing. There's an organization I know, they have people for, even if you have to ask those people, what do you do daily? They can't tell you. Actually, there's something I heard recently, and I think it's such a brilliant observation. They said that the best organizations are normally understaffed. And I think I mentioned it here. The best organizations are the ones that don't have enough employees. But you find organizations, they have people for everything. They look well staffed. Again, that's a red flag.
Not deliverance.
No, exactly. Because you find there's either overlap in terms of work. Sometimes you find there's repetition in terms of work. Sometimes you'll even find that the person doesn't even have work. The work they do can be done by somebody else as something they do as part of their job once a week. But you find this person does once a week and then sits, does nothing. How much are they earning? 500K. And someone will be like, that's not a lot of money. Okay, 500K. You do that 1, 2, 3. You have 5 people. Before you know it, you're spending 2.5 million every month on redundancy. And I know, people will be like, but we can't be mean. We need to create employment. I'm like, look, you'd rather let go of someone who's doing nothing in your organization than
you'd rather have someone pay them highly, but they can do the work that can be done by other 3, 4.
That's what I was about to say, exactly. So you'd rather get a guy who you'd pay 1.5 and he does the work of these other 5 people. So you've saved 1 million instead of paying 2.5. So that's what I've noticed, like me personally, my own personal experience. When I found myself having cash flow issues, it was just that I'd taken on too much expenditure.
Ephraim, let's try to unearth what is at the bottom of this problem, because I think to most entrepreneurs I speak to, they have cash flow issues, especially around the community. It's like clients are not paying. Okay? But when you look at the profiles of the clients, they are the clients who are actually earning, recognition from RRA for best taxpayer. And you'd think they have the money, but they are not actually paying the small businesses, and the small businesses are crying for.
That's so that you've brought in a very important note. So so the 3 things that cause cash flow issues. So it's delayed payments, it's mismanagement, and it's high expenditure. Those are the 3 things. But delayed payments is very tricky. At least let me talk about in our market. What I've noticed is we have, and again, I don't want to overgeneralize, but what I've seen, my own observation, is that finance people, the finance controllers, the people who release payments,
they have a lot of procedure.
The procedure, you need to understand why they have the procedure. They have the procedure because they want to eat something.
Oh.
Yeah, and we call a spade a spade. So you find a lot of finance people, they know you're a small business. They know you need that money. They know month end is coming. They know tax payment date is coming. The 15th is on its way. They know you need that 2 million, that 3 million. It's you need it.
You're desperate for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they are going to frustrate you, toss you, send me this. Okay, we're waiting. It's not been approved. Da, da, da. You go round in circles until you say,
kickback is here.
Man, you just push this for me. I'll give you something.
That is it.
And you find that the next day you've gotten your money. And it's not one organization or 2 organizations, many. And you find that, and you see
payments is intentional,
very intentional, especially with private organizations, especially with these big organizations. And what I've noticed is, unlike government, where you can file a case against someone for corruption, what do you say to that private person? I think we just have a really bad culture in the at least the finance fraternity. We have a really bad culture, and I'm saying finance fraternity and we because I'm a accountant by profession. And again, this is not to everyone, but if you're a finance person and you have done it, you don't know how much you're causing problems. And also another solution is very quick. If you want that kickback, say it from the get-go.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Don't frustrate people for a month because you are trying to get a kickback. say it from the get-go, because again, if you're going to ask again, it's unethical. But
It's
if you have
unethical.
yes, but if you have made up your mind, you're going to be unethical. At least be organized. And you are an ethicity. Is that even a word?
Is that a word? Does it even
I don't
exist?
even know. But my point, my point is very simple.
Be straight up.
Exactly, because
Yeah.
you don't the
it's-
knock-on effect.
You see, when you're straight up, even me who is billing, even me who's putting in my, my whatever, I know how much I'm supposed to bill so that I can give you your kickback, so that you can get your kickback. Because it's straight up. You're like, I'm gonna give you this deal, but this is what I want.
So you see, again, the ones of Ungo, this is the deal.
But
That
you know,
is another story.
Kickback is bad, by the way.
But no,
guys.
that's what I'm saying. That one is another story. I'm talking of where you are chasing your payment, and someone has your payment in their hands, and they frustrate the process because they want you to incentivize them to do the right thing. And I think, and again, where do you file that complaint? Because in the private sector, there is no framework to go and file a complaint.
There should be.
What normally happens, let me tell you what normally happens. What normally happens is, if you know a senior manager above the finance person, you normally pick up the phone and call. That is what actually happens. And you don't obviously call a spade a spade. You just say, the payment has delayed. They're like, let me call because we authorized it last week. That is the only way to solve it. But beyond you can't file an official complaint and say, this person is frustrating the process because it's very obvious they want something. And so what I'm just trying to say is that when we think about it, let's be the change we want to see. In what sense? The same finance person who is having his payment, who is delaying someone's payment, also has his payment delayed. So he has a right. I mean, he has the power to set the trend of settling payments on time. And yes, you'll find, again, like I said, some situations where there's no money, where organizations have to prioritize other things. But what I've noticed with those organizations is that they give you a date. They say, okay, we're sorry, we have delayed your payment. We're going to give you money on such and such a date. And they tell you in advance.
Ephraim, we've run short of time. In 2 minutes, if we could answer these listener questions. And here's Jenny, who is asking, when cash flow is tight, how do you prioritize which payments to make first?
So have you seen income statement?
Mm-hmm.
So an income statement, you have your revenue, then you have your cost of goods. After your cost of goods, then you have your gross profit. Then after gross profit, you have expenditure. After expenditure, then you have now taxation. You have interest. It's interest and taxation. Then depreciation is not a cash expenditure, but if you can classify it, depreciation, it's money earmarked for further investment, because depreciation means that your asset is losing value, meaning you need to replenish your asset to generate more income for yourself. So that depreciation represents an investment into the business. Then the last, after all of that, is your money. So when it comes to prioritizing, that's how you prioritize. It's just that, again, taxation finds its way up the list, but what I've normally noticed is that is the easiest way. The people who supply you with products need to be paid.
The vendors.
Because it makes sense. If I'm selling a service for, unless you are operating at a gross loss, but if I'm selling something for 1 million francs, I probably got the product at 500. Why can't I pay the person? I have the money. Simple.
Before you divert them.
Before I divert it into anything else.
Should vendors come before the employees?
At the end of the day, the vendor gives you the product. Let's say in theory you sell products every day. The vendor gives you product every day. The employee you only have to think about them at the end of the month.
And when the vendor's product is not there, the employee won't be there.
Exactly. And so if you do it in the right way, you'll find that you will have enough money. If your business is well organized, you will always have enough money to pay your workers. When we talk of cash flow now, to how you manage it, what I've always noticed is there are solutions to sort out cash flow shortages. Talk to your bank, work out a small overdraft arrangement for salaries, even if it's extra 5 million to plug the gap. Just figure out how much does it cost to take care of, like, again, the lower level staff. What is that urgent need? Most banks, if you have decent cash flows, can give you 5 million unsecured, 10 million unsecured. You're like, come month end or the 25th, even if we don't have money, at least these payments will be processed.
An overdraft, yeah.
And it overdraws the account. Then when cash comes in, that's when senior management gets settled, if you have those issues. But again, I repeat, if you find yourself always having cash flow shortages, 2 things. 1, it's poor planning, or 3, you are taking on too much cost. So poor planning in what sense? If you see your payments delay, if you're always relying on few big clients to settle, you need to plan out how you receive money.
Last question. This relates to the projections that have been given by the central bank, projecting the economic performance of the country. And I think I've seen an article in the New Times where they're saying that any individual now can plan in relation to this projection. Is it a possibility that you can actually plan your personal life dependent on the country's projection?
Yeah. So let me tell you a funny story. I'm currently learning that we have cycles of cash flow in our economy. Like I'm learning it. Like I knew the cycle before, but I'm learning the new cycle now. The periods when people have money, when they don't have money, because that's necessary for you as a business person, but also as a person. Because again, you'll find somebody will come to you and say, Ephraim, I have this property I want to sell, as an example. You need to know at what time of the year you're getting a good deal and when you're not. When someone comes to you for a soft loan, you need to know, will this person actually honor that payment within the time? Because you need to know what happens in terms of cash flow in the economy. How? One, you learn budgets of organizations and so non-governmental organizations, when they open and close their budgets, national budgets, the country's general economy. Because whether you like it or not, the money supply in our country is governed by the central bank. And that central bank can determine whether people have the money or not. And it's driven by so many factors. But the more you understand it, the easier it is for you to plan your own things. And you plan it out for the year. And so you know, okay, on the 15th, people are paying taxes. So if someone promises to give you payment on the 17th, it's highly likely that you're going to get that money. So you need to push to get your money on the 7th.
Given the conditions today, inflation, the dollar price, we see it every day. Things have gone up in terms of pricing. Housing is gone up. Transport is gone up. Everything is really gone up. Even the motor is charging as they wish. I don't think they even follow the regulator anymore. Now, should we start asking for salary increment? And by the way, we are under the same circumstances with the employers. What is likely to be their response?
So, economies are very tricky things. An employee needs a salary increment to keep up with inflation. But by virtue of increasing somebody's salary, an employer will also have to increase the cost of the products they sell. And what that does is it also increases inflation even further. So you find it's an intricate balance to figure out how can you take on a little bit more extra cost without affecting your business's ability to serve value to the customer without increasing prices. So what I've normally noticed and what I tell people as individuals is that help your business make more money. And then that will justify you as an individual to ask for more money. But unfortunately, you find people will come and say, pay me more money, but they're not doing any extra work. And so in that case, then the company has to figure out how to increase the cost of the goods. But if someone is generating that income, they have a right to go and say, if the employer doesn't give it to you, you have a right to also go look for other employment elsewhere.
Ephraim Ramwenge will bring this conversation to a stop. It's been a pleasure to just have this refreshing conversation on cash flow and what we need to do to apply ourselves better. News is up next with Jean Baptiste, who's joining us online.
Kigali